Tomorrow, you're giving us another gift. Carlos, Yannick, the World Championships, end of the year. Is it going to be another classic?
Yeah, I hope so. I think this beautiful year that we both had deserves another final, at the end of the year. The last tournament we both playing another final here in front of his crowd once again. So it's going to be, I think, I was going to say beautiful, but I think it's not going to be beautiful for me with the crowd. But I will try to enjoy as much as I can. But I think it's one of the most difficult challenge that we have in the sport right now, facing Yannick, with his home crowd on indoor court. So I think I'm ready for that, to play a beautiful tennis for the crowd, to entertain the people as well. So another final against him. Let's see.
Keep smiling, my man. You were awesome.
Carlos Alcaraz puts the pressure on Jannik Sinner. Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner face each other again in 2025, now with the ATP Finals at stake, and on this occasion the Spaniard hands all the favoritism to the Italian. The great match that can be seen on the ATP circuit has a new addition, and it will be the last of the year, as the ATP Finals will be decided with a new episode of the rivalry between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. The Italian and the Spaniard have faced each other many times in 2025, but whatever happens, this will be the definitive one, an opportunity for the Spaniard to win an event that has never gone well for Spanish tennis and that no national player has lifted in 27 years. Although it will not be easy at all against the current champion. Everything is against Carlitos, who has 6 hours less rest, since his semi-final against Felix Auger-Aliassime was played in the night session and finished late into the night. For that very reason, and because Jannik already knows what it is like to win these finals, which are also played in Italy with the crowd on his side, the player from El Palmar is very clear about who must carry the weight of the match. He is the favorite because of his indoor streak and because we are playing at his home. Because yes, the atmosphere can be key, to the point that something similar to the Davis Cup is expected. The two have played for many things lately, but none as important as the world #1 ranking, which belonged to the San Candido native until the US Open, when that great victory by the Spaniard helped him get even for the Wimbledon loss and to take the New York crown away from the Italian. Only now that is history, and after losing it in Paris, he has won the necessary matches in Turin and once again holds control of the world ranking. He can beat him, but wouldn't mind another opponent. Alcaraz is aware that he has the tennis to win the match, as he has spent a week playing very well, and if he didn't think he was capable, he wouldn't go out on court risking his physical condition. However, he also cannot hide that he wouldn't mind at all if the opponent were someone more manageable, although at the same time he is motivated to play the best possible match won last time this season. On one hand it's good to face Jannik, but I also wouldn't have minded playing against someone else. Thanks to him, I will approach the match differently. I would say more focused. Alcaraz jokes about the atmosphere he expects in the final against Sinner. I hope there are 3 or 4 people cheering for me. Alcaraz and Sinner will face each other this Sunday from 1800 hours in the final of the Masters Cup. Spanish player Carlos Alcaraz, year-end #1 in 2025 and a finalist for the first time in the Masters Cup, joked this Saturday in Turin and asked for at least 3 or 4 people to support him against Italian Jannik Sinner, idol in his country and his rival in the decisive match of the ATP Finals. Alcaraz defeated Canadian Auger-Aliassime, 6-2, 6-4, with authority in the semi-final to seal his place in his first final of this tournament. He will not have many people rooting for him because Sinner has the full support. I hope, at least, 3 or 4 people cheer for me, he joked, provoking applause at the Inalpai Arena. It's going to be very difficult. I'm very happy to see Jannik in another final. We play at a very high level, something good for the fans. I'll try to stay focused to be able to win. The people will cheer for him, so I have to stay centered and I hope to play a great match, he added. Regarding his victory over the Canadian, he commented, I think I was very solid, very aggressive, I'm proud. Without too many errors, trying to go forward. I served well, returned well, important to gain the confidence needed. Very happy with the level to face a final. He also won over the crowd with some words in Italian, I'm very happy with today's match. See you tomorrow, thanks. Aliassime confident he can win a Grand Slam? Canadian Felix Auger-Aliassime said this Saturday, after falling in the semi-finals of the ATP Finals to Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz, 6-2, 6-4, that he still sees himself capable of being at the top of the circuit. I have progressed a lot this year. I have always believed, since I was a kid, and my ambition was to win Grand Slams and be #1 in the world. I have had ups and downs, but honestly, despite everything, I've always believed I could get there. And I still believe it. Now it's about doing the right things to improve, he said in a press conference. Of course, when I play against Alcaraz and Sinner right now, the reality is they are a level above everyone else. I'm going to have to work hard. I've never been afraid of hard work, so all good, acknowledged the former pupil of Tony Nadal. The Canadian praised the great play of the Mercian, year-end number 1 in 2025 and who will compete for the Masters Cup with Italian Jannik Sinner this Sunday. For a guy who did everything well, I remember 3 or 4 years ago everyone said, the serve, the serve. He serves incredibly well now. He does it wonderfully. The rest of his game has always been good. He can change direction with both shots. He pressures you in a different way. You don't know what to expect. He plays at a very high speed. I think that was the hardest part, he pointed out. He also said that the Davis Cup should be played every 2 years to improve the format. The only thing I know is that for it to be something special, it has to be something uncommon. The Olympic Games or the World Cup are every 4 years. If you have something every year, it is not going to be as special, he noted. Alcaraz heavily criticized for not having earned the number 1 fairly according to some. The season ended with Alcaraz raising his arms to the ceiling of the Analpi Arena, celebrating a convincing victory over Musetti and securing not only his place in the semifinals but also the throne of world tennis. It was a year of consistency, a marathon in which every point mattered. Meanwhile, comparisons with Sinner became inevitable, both for their rivalry and for the symmetry of their results. In that context a criticism emerged. Some sectors of the public pointed out that the 3-month suspension Sinner had to serve, which left him out of key tournaments, tilted the competitive balance. They argued that those missed tournaments represented opportunities to add points and stay further ahead of Alcaraz. Although this opinion circulated strongly, it is only an interpretation of the calendar and the circumstances experienced by both players. The truth is that, with or without suspension, Alcaraz had an extraordinary year. He led the circuit in wins and titles, won decisive matches under pressure, and demonstrated a maturity that contrasts with his young age. For many analysts, any theory of advantage is overshadowed by his ability to sustain a high level of performance for consecutive months. Throughout the season, every time Sinner struck hard, Alcaraz responded with equal intensity. Thus, more than an imbalanced rivalry, an exciting battle took shape. Even in the final stretch, when Sinner could no longer mathematically take back the number 1 spot, both continued pushing each other to new heights. That ongoing reinforcement was one of the reasons this year felt like one of the most vibrant in modern tennis. Despite this, the debate regarding the advantage did not disappear. Some fans insisted that the ranking might have shown a different outcome if Sinner had played those tournaments lost due to suspension. For them, the points difference minus 11,650 for Alcaraz versus the maximum possible 11,500 for Sinner, is a figure that invites speculation. But numbers, without context, do not always reflect the complexity of human performance nor the effect of pressure on the circuit. Other experts, on the contrary, pointed out that a season is not defined by 3 isolated months. They highlighted that Sinner had later opportunities to close the gap and that, in several duels, Alcaraz maintained a superior level. Moreover, the fight for number 1 does not usually depend on a single part of the year but on the ability to sustain competitive performance week after week, something Alcaraz mastered authoritatively. What this conversation did make clear is the strength of the debate among fans of both players. The rivalry has grown so much that any detail, from an injury to a suspension, becomes fuel for heated discussions. The sports narrative becomes more intense thanks to these voices, although they often mix analysis with emotion. In any case, what is beyond dispute is that Alcaraz closed the year with impressive numbers, more victories than anyone, more titles than anyone, and the real possibility of becoming the youngest player to reach milestones not seen since Djokovic in 2009. His leadership is no accident, but the direct consequence of consistency, discipline, and fierce ambition. Although part of the public wanted to attribute his rise to supposed advantages derived from Sinner's suspension, the facts show a different story, that of a player who competed with outstanding regularity and defeated rivals in key moments. Controversies always accompany success, but they rarely manage to overshadow true merit. If this season made anything clear, it is that the Alcaraz-Sinner rivalry will continue fueling emotions, debates, and memorable matches. And if both keep pushing each other forward, the sport will always be the greatest beneficiary.